All right. What up, though, y'all? Happy Friday to you. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is our third Friday. We meet up every month. Thank you, Mr. Councilman Tate and Miss Humphreys, for joining me. I couldn't believe when she called me. I was like, y'all want to come on my little show? Like, this is so cool. Like, I'm still so excited. How
Uh,
you doing tonight?
Doing well. It's been a busy day, but
Yeah.
it's definitely an honor. I mean, I appreciate being on the show
Oh,
this
thank you. I'm just
evening.
so happy. I can't wait to call my family. I'm taking my great aunt. She'll be like, girl, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm at.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't think I. Oh yeah, I do got one church announcement today. So church announcements is what we do for just like in the church, the announcements, whatever events I got going on in the city. So next Friday is Real Estate Fridays. You are more than welcome to come, Mr. Councilman Tate. It's a free meetup we do every month, and we teach Detroiters how to invest in their city. We taught them how to do the land bank stuff, how to bid at the tax auction. We go over the importance of insurance for your business, for your houses, and so forth. So once a year, we always do real estate speed date working. Now you can come find your boo, or you can come find you a contractor, a plumber, an electrician, a councilman to learn about whatever going on in your district.
There it
Uh,
is.
your lender, we have lenders there, real estate attorneys, construction attorneys. Like it'd be a plethora of everybody. Last year we had people who do like private chefs because people have events, like they have open houses and they need food. So it's a free 99 event. All we ask is that y'all come spend at least $10 to $25 minimum with the Detroit Pizza Bar because they allow us to have this event there for free and they don't charge us, so we don't charge y'all.
Beautiful.
All right, so let's get going. So, Mr. Councilman Tate, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into public service, who you are, what inspired you to run for city council, and your role over the years?
Yep. So, good evening to everyone. I am James Tate. I am born and raised in the city of Detroit. Love this place, even though sometimes didn't feel like it loved me. You know how we are.
For sure.
But have made sure that I have done everything I could to make my folks proud. I have been, I've had a very solid middle class life, and I have friends and even family that have had some challenges that I know if I would have had in my life would have been different. I don't know if I'd be here. I would always say that I would be grinding and I would have done everything I could to be successful, air quotes, in life. But I don't know if I would have landed in this space. And I know that there have been some things that would be different. So I owe a lot to my folks. I'm blessed that they're still together, still here on this earth, and they drive me, to continue to be the best me that I can be. But that also inspires me to be the best me that I can be for others as well, because I know that that's my story is not like everybody else's or like many others, and so when I see young people who are going through some challenges, or even grown folks go through challenges, I don't judge first. What I do is first try to understand. Now I'm not going to say judgment don't follow in there somewhere along the road, but it's really about first trying to understand why a person did what they did, and then what's my role in trying to assist if there's any way possible to do so. Um, so born and raised again in the city of Detroit. From the time I was in kindergarten to the time I graduated high school, I was either kicked out, put back, or transferred 9 times. So
Oh
here
wow!
I am. Yep. So remember I told you about that family that loved on me. I put them through it. I
Oh,
put them
so
through it.
you a troubled youth?
Well, you know what? I was in trouble. I was rambunctious, as they say.
Oh,
Right?
big word, big
Yeah,
word.
yeah. I was rambunctious. I was challenging for them, but it was never no. It wasn't really criminal stuff. It was just like stupid and didn't want stupid things. Didn't want to do. Didn't like school. I was
Mhm.
rebellious. That was me. And some would say that I had too many creature comforts, and that's what allowed me to do that. But fact of the matter is, I was just a boy growing up in the city of Detroit, and had an environment, had friends. Who sometimes led me in a direction. Sometimes, honestly, I led them in a direction. A boy growing up in the city of Detroit. Graduated from Benedictine High School.
Okay.
Yep. Ravens. Any Ravens in the house?
No, I'm a
Cricket.
crusader.
I know I'm like crickets. uh,
I'm a crusader.
so graduated from Benedictine, went to Wayne State University, graduated from there in 1998 with a degree in radio, TV, film. So my background is not in politics, not in sociology, any of that poli-sci. It is in communications. And I needed my senior year, I needed an internship to graduate, and my television production professor connected me with Channel 7, and I was interning there. Interned at Channel 7. Once it was over with, I said, thank you, appreciate the opportunity. Maybe we'll work together again. You send a nice little card and saying, in hopes of. And sure enough, within months, they did offer me a job. Still didn't want to do that either. That wasn't what I wanted to do in life. I actually wanted to be a commercial copywriter. And for those who don't know, commercial copywriter is the person who writes commercials. That's boring to some people, but that is fascinating to me to try to figure out how to understand the psyche of consumers. That is what I feel is appealing to me. Certainly wanted to do that early on. I wrote short stories and poems. Like a lot of folks, this is again the 90s, so we were snapping to some of the things that we were writing and enjoying it a lot. After the internship at after my time at Channel 7, one day my assistant news director, while at Channel 7 rather, my assistant news director came in and said he was going to the city of Detroit to become the director of communications, and asked me if I wanted to come with him. And prayed on it. Got the good graces from my wife. That's always important. And transitioned over to the city of Detroit as a communications coordinator. So I would work early in the morning. This was during the Kilpatrick administration. Worked early in the morning and didn't leave sometime until, like 9 p.m. But I would get there. When I say early in the morning, I'm talking about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I would work with the news stations to make sure that, things were going right, in the city. What's going on? How can I help? It's always been about service. 9 months into that time frame, the unfortunate incident that many folks who are watching tonight probably will remember, there was a shooting at the fireworks where 9 people were shot, unfortunately. And they needed someone to go over to the police department to work in communications. And they said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I drew the short straw. James Tate, we need you to go over to the police department. And I was assigned over there, and I was initially going to be over there for 2 weeks. But I spent 5 years over at the Detroit Police Department as the second deputy chief in charge of the Office of Public Information for 5 years. Saw some stuff that I never thought I would see. Wasn't trained for it. So I was on TV all the time and had a badge, had a big title, but I was not a sworn officer. So there were things that I saw on a regular basis that really challenged my ability to understand humanity. I mean, it was some really, really, really bad stuff that was going on. This is early 2000s. Again, very, very challenging. And ended up staying in that position again for 5 years. Have folks who say, you're a good guy. Maybe you should think about running for city council. I'm like, no, not at all. That is not in the cards. And eventually, I did like I did before. I prayed on it, asked for the permission from my wife. She said yes. The Lord said, go do it, and decided to run. And I ran for council. And at that time, we were actually, so right now we're in districts. There's 7 districts in the city of Detroit, city council districts. But at that time, we were all at large. And that just simply means that every council member represents everybody in the city of Detroit. No one's assigned to a certain area. We were just 9 members that were on the city council body. And that year, for those 9 seats, there were 168 people who ran. And that was crazy. 168. So when they whittled it down to the primary gets you down to 18 spots. And I came in 11th place, Asia. I was like, no. And I had people along the way, those who, you had people who were supporting me, but I had a whole lot of other folks said, no, you're not the right guy. You don't understand this world. You too nice. You're too this, too that, too this. And when I came in 11th place during the primary, all I could think of is they were right. They were absolutely right. And, I let that moment sink in for a second. And then I, picked myself up because I realized race ain't over yet. So when the general election came around, made some retooling in my team, and more people come out for the general election than the primary anyway. And I ended up with the 7th highest vote count that year. That landed me on city council. That was 2009 when I was elected. Put my hand up and swore that I would do the duties of a city council member in January 2010. And the people have blessed me to be allowed to be here since that time. So I'm now in my 4th term as a member of the Detroit City Council. We're now in districts, and we went to districts as a result of a vote by the people. So in 2013, we transitioned to districts, and I am the first and only at this point city council member that has represented City Council District 1. That's the furthest northwestern part of the city of Detroit. So when you think about Brightmoor, you think about Grandmont Rosedale, that's us. So that's me in a nutshell. You know, the job part of me, I love what I do. It is tough, it is challenging, but the most rewarding part of it is when you are able to see the change, you know, of the city and how you've been able to help with all that change that we see, you know, again, dating all the way back to 2009, 2010. It looks and feels like a different city at this point. Still got challenges, don't get me wrong. Still a lot of work to do, but I'm proud of the work that we have done up to this point.
All right, awesome, man. You got a heck of a story to tell. Do you have like a book out or something, or no?
Now I'm working on something, probably down the road. But you know, when you're in an eye of the storm, you know, you don't see all of that. You just work.
A couple people will reach out to me and they say I should run for city council, but I personally don't see it. But I'm like, I feel like I have to be too PG-13, and that's just not me.
Well, you know, here's the funny thing. I found, and I would even say, even for myself, those folks who don't want it are more than likely the best suited for it, because you're not going into it because you want power or you want money. Because if you want money, if you're doing it the right way, going in at least city council is not the place to do it. It's really about service. So, you know, you might be a great option for us out here. Don't kill that those dreams of those folks who are trying to push you in that direction. Because if I would have told them no, who knows what I would be doing right now. And you know, here we are now 4 terms in, and it's not because I was appointed. It's because the people have said we want you to serve as our leader in this capacity. So don't knock it till you try it.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
All right. My next question. What are some of the key lessons you learned from your time as a city councilman in Detroit?
Oh, wow. Some of the things, the key lessons I've learned is take things personally, but don't take things personally, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. So when I say take things personally, take personal the complaints that people provide you, because it's got to hit you. You've got to feel it in order for you to wake up every morning trying to figure out how to solve other people's problems when your problems are still right there in your face. So you got to feel it. So take that personally, but then don't take it personally when people come to you in a way that is aggressive. They may come across angry, frustrated, because that's exactly what they are. As I've told you before, I've grown up in this city, born and raised, and I love Detroit, but Detroit doesn't always seem like it's loved me along the way. And if I feel that way, I know my residents are feeling the same way as well. So I make sure that I have a level of grace, you know, provide folks a level of grace when we have conversations. You know, I will absorb a bit of abuse just because that's the nature of the beast. But we only go so far, right? Because I am still, again, Detroit, so don't play.
I know that's right. I be telling LA, don't let this Oakland and Westminster come up out of you.
That's right. You know, but yeah, I take it personally, but don't take it personally. Don't take it personally when folks are calling, they're angry and hurt, and many times they're reaching out to me because they've potentially gone to other places and have not gotten any results. And in their minds, especially if they don't know me, I'm just another member of government, right? I'm not James Tate. I don't have all these 4 terms, and they don't care about all that. What they care is, how are you going to fix this thing that I'm telling you is broken? How are you going to make my life better than what it is today? How are you going to make it better tomorrow than how it is today? that's what I've learned. And I've also learned that a lot of people truly don't know the difference between elected officials, right? They look at, council members, mayors, county commissioners, senators, state reps. They look at all of us the same, the great majority of folks, because they don't really truly have an understanding of the different levels of government, whether we talk about federal, state, county, and local, and really don't know what the responsibilities are when we talk about the executive branch and the legislative branch. And it's, for me, it's important to make sure, again, it's a slow roll in educating folks on what I do and what to expect when you engage me. As a Detroit City Council member, as a legislator, I don't run any departments at all in the city of Detroit. Mm-hmm. So I am, when you call and you say, I've got a water main broken and water's flooding my block, I cannot direct the water department to go out and fix it, as crazy as that sounds. The charter creates this separation. It makes sense. I mean, let me say, it sounds crazy, but it makes sense when you look at policy-wise. What I can do through my relationship with the water department, with the executive branch, is strongly encourage, cooperate, make sure that it happens, and really emphasize the importance of getting these things repaired, fixed, and completed. But I don't make those decisions. When you look at the city council, when you read the charter, we have three responsibilities, really. One is to approve contracts. The other is create laws and ordinances. And the main one is to approve the budget. All this other stuff that we do, constituent services, going out to community meetings, and all of that stuff are things that are not on paper required, but is required because of the expectation of the community. And it also helps me to know better how to serve the people that I am responsible for, in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
See, I told you, right? Uh-huh. Yeah. By the time we finish, you're gonna be like, where can I sign up? Where am I signing up?
I don't know if it sounds that good, but let me not met you at with the Brightmore framework plan, man. Them people letting y'all have it. I'm like, ain't no way I'm doing this.
Yeah,
especially them seniors. Them seniors don't play.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, once you have an opportunity to understand and you listen to what they're saying, they're not saying anything wrong. It's just they're communicating it a certain kind of way. And, the whole saying, hurt people. Well, frustrated people, they speak in frustrating language. But you've got to, like I said, take it personally, but don't take it personally. So
I got you.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Looking back at some of your accomplishments, what are you most proud of during your time as a city councilman for Detroit?
There's a pretty large list, I will say. And I'll start with, I'm not gonna go through everything, but one thing I'm proud of is, one, helping to restore, at least in the best capabilities of myself, restore trust in government. When I came in, you had, unfortunately, the mayor who was going to jail. We had council members who were indicted. And along the way, since I've been on council, we've still had some turbulence, if you will, with elected officials. I have made a pledge, and as I told you before, it is very important to me to understand who I represent and where I come from. So I have steered clear away from any of that kind of stuff. I'm not perfect. I'm not Superman. Make mistakes, and probably shouldn't say it out loud, but the reality is I've done everything I could to make sure that I keep that type of stuff away from me, because I know how it reflects on myself, my family, but then also it lends to people having less faith in government, and that's the last thing I want to happen because of me. So that's one thing I'm very proud of. The other thing I'm proud of is I host 3 community meetings every month, and that is a lot of community engagement.
You got to send them to me so I can post them.
We will make sure you have them. And I've been doing this for 10 years straight. Okay. That is huge. And the reason that's important is because, before I had those meetings, we would have people in the community who would know each other, hear about each other, but never really engage each other. Now, as a result of these meetings, we have folks who are, in this block over here, working with folks who are in the neighborhood all the way over here. They're not just talking to each other, they're working together. They're advocating for each other. So it makes each community, each neighborhood stronger because you have more hands, you have more ideas, and you have more strength when they come and they advocate to whether it's me or any other elected official. It builds strength in that community. And those are the folks who really help set the standard for what we do in the city of Detroit. Policy-wise, one thing that I'm extremely proud of is how we ushered in the cannabis industry in the city of Detroit. We were one of the holdouts, if you will, in the state of Michigan, one of the larger holdouts, if you will. And people thought, as soon as the voters went to the polls in Michigan in 2018, that we, as a city of Detroit, were going to be one of the first. And there were a lot of people who wanted us to be the first. But the challenge I had with us being the first is that the industry at that time, the medical marijuana industry, was dominated by folks who were not Detroiters, folks who did not represent the demographic of the city of Detroit. They weren't Black folks, let's be honest.
Hold on.
Sorry.
So this around that time when they announced that, or I guess you had something to do with that. I think it was a bill or something to where you had to be a city of Detroiter for X amount of years to live here in order to open up like a dispensary or something like that. Is this around that?
It was similar to that. So it wasn't that that's what you had to do to open it up. What it did was it provided you an opportunity based on the fact that you had certain number of years in the city of Detroit. It gives you a certain amount of points when it comes to the obtaining a license. It did not discriminate anybody, but what it did was it worked to help level the playing field, if you will, for Detroiters. Detroiters typically did not have the same amount of funding or level of funding and resources as others. They weren't established already. So that put Detroiters at a disadvantage. And if we were just to flip the switch and just open up completely where we were at that time, Detroiters would have stayed at a disadvantage. And I'm extremely proud to say that pretty much half of the licenses, and that fluctuates based on month by month, about half of the licenses that we have that have been issued to dispensaries in particular have at least 51% ownership of Detroiters, if not 100%. And you don't see that anywhere. And I'm just looking at it from a locale standpoint when I say Detroiters, but if we want to take it to the real equitable standpoint, we talk about black folks. You don't see this many black people within the legal cannabis industry in any city at all in this country. And we've got a story to tell. We just haven't told it the best way, and we're gonna do that better. And we've had 2 years now of an industry, and it's growing, and we're starting to see many more fruits of those legal fights that we had along the way with all these attorneys who wanted to shut us down and say that we weren't doing right. We had a judge who said that the ordinance that we had in place initially that really provided a heavy benefits to the citizens of the city of Detroit who were trying to get into this industry. And judge said that it wasn't constitutional. It possibly was not constitutional. And we had lawyers all across the board trying to sue us to water down the ordinance. And we had to, make some moves and some concessions that I didn't necessarily want to do. But in the end of it, I'm still very proud of the results that we've been able to see as a result of our efforts and our holding out. It mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will say, lastly, I'm very proud of the way that I have helped. I'm not the only one. I've helped us get from the point where we were again in the state and city of Detroit financially, and the way the service was being provided back in 2010 when I first started versus where we are now, going through bankruptcy, going through COVID, which was a huge, huge challenge for all of us. And to see where we are today, I'm extremely proud of it. Again, have to put that asterisk by there and saying that we still have a long way to go, still many challenges to overcome. And a lot of those details, we still have to, make sure that we clarify so that we can help those who are more financially challenged, those who are unhoused, and those who have insecurity, whether that's food or housing insecurity. We want to make sure we address them, but we're still, I believe, and just when you look around and you see it, we're in a better situation than we were back in 2010 when I came in, and that's really always kind of a litmus test on your effectiveness, if you will, in that particular office. And I'm not the only one, but I have played a role, and I'm very proud of that.
Well, that's good. I'm proud of you too. That's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're gonna kind of get into like Detroit's revitalization and development. I've been preaching buying Detroit, even if you don't live here and you're a Detroit, you need to buy your house because eventually it's gonna get overpriced. And look at what's going on now. Like the average rent, even in Brightmoor right now, is like $1,200, which is insane for Brightmoor. But if you go on Zillow and you type in 48223, you will see some $1,200-$1,300 rents right on Plainview in Schoolcraft, which is crazy. But if Brightmoor is $1,200, you already know downtown is $2,000 and $3,000. The rest of the city is going to eventually get to that point too. So Detroit has been ongoing a significant revitalization over the past few years. So what do you think are the biggest success of this process, and where do you see most room for some improvement?
So I think it's a balance. We've seen a tremendous growth in the city. I remember back in, what was it, 2009, I think it was 2008, when we had the Super Bowl here. In downtown, if you remember, if you were down there, we had to put wraps, vinyl wraps around the buildings to make them look like they were occupied. That was bad, but we were just excited to have the Super Bowl here. Couldn't believe it. It was during the winter, and here we are having this event that has 3,000 plus journalists and all these folks, parachuting into our city, being able to air quote show it off, and we had to create a sort of an illusion, to be honest with you.
We had to fake it till we made it to where
There it is. I'll let you say it, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Create that illusion that everything was great and it was beautiful. And again, people are great and beautiful, but the city was very scarred at that time. We had to hide those scars. And when we look at where we are now, it's bursting at the seams downtown. There's activity, there's movement. Now, it still is lagging when you look at other major downtowns across this country. And when you look at, you go into Atlanta, you go to DC, you go to New York, and there's a lot more activity on a daily basis, not just the weekend, and other places than you see in the city of Detroit. But we are starting to see a more vibrant downtown with the riverfront, the stadiums, the restaurants, the housing as well. We've got legitimate condos down there that, they're off the water. So you're going to see big numbers. And when you see those big numbers in downtown, it's not so strange anymore, because anywhere downtown USA is going to be the most costly, typically, part of the city of where you're at. So to me, that's a great thing. But you just kind of hit the nail on the head. As we develop, things get more expensive. So we have to always figure out how to balance. I don't ever want us to stop developing and growing. I think that's critical and it's key, especially from where we came from and where we want to be as a major player in the landscape of this country. But we also, we struggle because creating these developments in this environment, even with levels of affordability that is provided, subsidies, let me put it that way, subsidies that the city provides, the rents are still high. And you're seeing, studio apartments being built. You're seeing 1-bedrooms being built. You're not seeing single family dwellings being built. They cost too much to build. You're not seeing 3-bedrooms. And when you look at the city of Detroit, and when you have kids, typically, again, if you want to look at that nuclear family, or if you look at even a single parent, if you got a boy and a girl, especially when they're kids, you want them in separate rooms and the parent wants there. So now you talk about 3 bedrooms. We're not getting those being built in the city of Detroit. We very rarely, let me just say that, they're out there being built, but very, very rarely. You'll have an apartment, a multifamily unit that's built, and let's say it has 70 units. There may be one that's 3 bedroom. the majority of them are going to be studio, 1 bedroom, possibly 2 bedroom. You'll see that. But 3 bedroom is extremely rare. And that, unfortunately, is exacerbating, in my opinion, the affordability issue, the housing issue that we have in the city. Some folks have said this. I had a conversation the other day with some developers, and I think they were on point. They said Detroit does not have a housing affordability issue. What we have is an income issue, because right now our incomes are so suppressed in Detroit. When we talk about overall the annual median income, the average income in the city of Detroit is so much lower than where it is in other cities, other major cities. But the cost to build in the city of Detroit is also higher than other places. So the return on investment for these developers just doesn't make sense unless they have some level of subsidies from the city. I hate these tax abatements that we have to give. I hate the fact that we're doing all these moving pieces, providing that we're not giving money away. We may reduce taxes for a certain period of time and provide avenues that way for development. But if we don't do those things, these buildings that have been a nuisance in the community for 10, 20, 30 plus years will stay that way. And the people in the community are saying, do something. So then we go, okay, all right, that something can either be work with a developer to rehab that structure in the neighborhood to help lift it up, right? Hands up.
Hello.
Or demolish it, right? It's one or the other. And that's how we improve the area. I'd much rather build and rehab than demolish. And that means once we do that, either one's going to cost us, right? Yeah. One is a long-term cost and one is a short-term cost. But both are going to cost us. I'd rather us try to figure out how to get this this property that has, again, been a nuisance in a community, dragging it down for decades plus. I'd rather get that up and going than demolish it and just let a vacant lot just sit there for another 20, 30 plus years.
My only thing with the income stuff is, like, I was always taught by the men in my family, skills pay the bills. And a lot of it, I think, is education. It ain't got to be college. It could be high school diploma, go get a trade. And I really think we need to push the trades, because the trades pay money. Like, when I used to be a heavy highway engineer, and sometimes, like, when we work on federal projects, we would have to go around as the contractor, like the laborers and stuff like that. We would have to ask them what they're making, because it's a prevailing wage job, and they had to tell us. Now, this 2008 to 2013, when I was on the highway, these people was making the person who hold the flag that said, "Hey, y'all, come on down this street, don't go that way." The minimum they was making was $18 to $25 an hour to hold a stop sign. And I'm like, excuse me? I went to college for what? And then that's when I really started looking at the trade, I don't know if you remember when that trucker hit the bridge on the Lodge, like right before you come up at the Motor City Casino exit. I was on that crew, so we had to do emergency repair, night work. Those welders were getting $125 an hour for emergency work. So if the welder is making that, the company charging probably $1,500 plus per hour. And I'm like, don't nobody else see this? I'm like, I know they took the trades out of school, and I know that had a lot to do with Black and brown kids, because it's still in these other community schools. So that's a big disconnect too. And I don't know if a lot of the kids just either don't know about it, or even adults, or they just don't want to work with their hands. But it's just too much money out here for these trades, because I see it. It's a dire need. I remember reading an article when I was in carpentry school, so this had to be like 2010 or 2011, and they were talking about the amount of people who's retiring from construction. They don't have enough people to replace. And this was 10, 15 years ago. So it got to be even worse. So that's why you're still seeing a lot of these older men still out on these job sites, because one, they got the expertise, they got the talent. These older brick masons, like my dad and my uncles, they know how to do stone work. They come up on that. These younger ones probably don't, unless another elder teach them. And I think that's part of the problem too, to where I guess they don't make skilled trades look sexy.
You know what? I was just about to use that word, and somebody said, "Don't say that as a council," but it's real. It's not sexy.
It's the truth. But my check's sexy.
That's
my
right.
check real sexy.
That's absolutely true. So I'll say, the city of Detroit, we have been promoting the skilled trades. We've been doing everything we can to do so. We've got programs. We've been working with the carpenters as well to increase their the visibility of the programs that they have. I use this phrase a lot. It's a slow roll getting to that point. It's not sexy for a lot of folks. They don't know the business itself. And here's the thing, though you don't need a degree to get into the skilled trades, you still got to have basic math. You got to know that stuff. You got to have,
and basic reading skills too.
Basic reading skills. And if you don't have that, it's going to be challenging. And a lot of folks, the learning process is hard. It's difficult because when you're learning, you fail a lot, right? You fail before you start to succeed. And some people don't get past that midway point when they cross over and they go, oh, now I get it. And so I believe that's a big part of why we have not up to this point seen a lot of us in the skilled trades. Now we're starting to hear a lot of HVAC. My nephew, as a matter of fact, Lord bless his soul, we're gonna get him through this thing. He is a Detroit young man, just like I was growing up in the city of Detroit, right? Right. And we were just talking about it, and then he said, I want to go into HVAC. I said, okay, all right. He started look online, similar to what you just said. I didn't know they made that much money. I said, yeah, man, we make money. So tell me, where we gonna start? He's like, I don't know. That could be the end of the conversation for some folks, right? Some of these young men, if someone like me and you don't say, all right, here's where we go. So they also need that connectivity to somebody who cares about them, who's willing to take the time to walk them through this, because, especially the younger generation, I got to say this, they are not as resilient for various reasons as some of our older generations. And I would even say my generation. I'll be 50 this year in December. And they're not as resilient. So when they hit that roadblock and they get that, the no, or the thing that tells them that they can't do it, many of them crumble. They stop and they retreat. And they need someone like us to go, nope, get back in there. Keep going. Nope, turn back around, and I will work with you. I will help you. And that's what I think a lot of our young folks truly are missing in their lives as well.
I think a lot of that got to do with they don't have family support. Because I remember when I first was like, I'm about to get on this road and get into the construction, a lot of my friends, especially the women, they couldn't understand it. But I come from a construction background, so my family wasn't surprised. They like, bet about time somebody, I just took it and ran with it. And when I got my master's in construction management, so I could learn this business side, because the business side is what stops a lot of us from, really growing and prospering in the Black community. We don't read contracts. We out here doing in-word business instead of business. So that's the difference too. And that's what helped me a lot as far as being a licensed GC and subbing out my work. Hey, y'all ain't got to worry about none of that. Just sign here. But they trust me enough to know, like, I'm not going to make you sign nothing that you don't understand. Like, I'm going to read it to you. And I think that's what helps me as far as with my platform, is that I explain stuff to where any and everybody, no matter your educational background, can understand. Like, all right, y'all, this is what they mean. Forget all these big words. And I think that stops a lot of people too from going to other stuff too, because they don't have the support. Some people don't have self-motivation, or they just don't understand. Like, I believe self-motivation be that I'm broke.
You would think for some, right?
You would think I ain't got enough money.
But here's the thing. You got to remember, Angel, if they've been broke their whole life.
Oh, yeah, they don't know no better.
Yeah, that's life. That's why I say we got to get that grace, because if they've been broke their entire life, if they've been scrapping their entire life, they think that that's normal. They think that that's what that's their assignment. They're going to be assigned to being broke unless they do something stupid, crazy, to break that chain. When you look around and generations, folks around you are struggling. You don't know that you have the ability to get beyond that, because that's all you've seen. That's all you know.
That's true. Cause like when I hear some of my friends who are successful in business and stuff, and they be telling me that, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I remember I told my mom what I wanted to do. She's like, all right, so what we doing? Like, my family is like that. If you tell them what you about to do, they gonna get on your nerves until it comes to fruition. So don't tell nobody in my family nothing that you don't plan on doing, because they gonna get on your nerve, which is good because
Yeah.
that's motivating you to like, oh, I can't let my family down. But I don't have them crazy stories. My family had my back. When I lost my condo, when the foreclosure stuff was going on, my mama was like, baby, come home, don't you worry about nothing. When she gave me that okay, it was a wrap. But a lot of people don't have or didn't have that type of support, and I didn't really understand that till later on. Like, it took me years to really realize, AJ, everybody didn't grow up in a loving family like you. Like, that was
Mhm.
so hard for me to like really realize that. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Well, let me ask you: did you when you were younger, did you, because you didn't have that hard life? It sounds like you didn't have that hard luck story. Did you did you feel like you had to create stories to make it seem as if maybe life was challenging because your friends had those kind of stories? I know I did. I know I did. Did you feel?
I ain't never been that type of person. You mad at me because my family love and care about me. We got food to eat. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. Like, my family, but before COVID, one day a week, well, one Friday out the month, we went to different, especially when all my great aunt and uncle were living. We had Fish Friday, and the old people was upstairs playing Biz Wiz, and the kids were downstairs playing spades. Like,
Okay.
we did that all the way up into COVID.
Uh,
Like, my family, like, we tight. Like, we is tight, and that's my family in Detroit and down south.
Okay. Yeah, that's I would say a lot of folks don't have that,
Yeah,
so we're
that's true.
blessed. We are very blessed to be in the positions we're in.
Yeah, and it took me years to really realize that, because like talking to my friends, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I could have never imagined my mama saying stuff to me. Like, my mama was very, like, I come from a very loving family to this day. Not in my mom's past, my family down south called me every other week when you coming down here, because they older, so I know they can't travel to come see me. So it's like, all right, let me go down there and see them. But I couldn't imagine some of the stuff my friends done told me. I'm like, wow, do you need a hug, bro? And that's something else too. Like, people ain't never got hugs. Or
That's
they
real.
ain't get no type of nurturing from their mom, or any type of correction in a loving way from their mom and dad. I'm like, oh, like, this is kind of sad.
Well, I remember I had a friend who he used to hang out with his mom, and they were just like best friends, and they did all they did a lot of things together. Let me just put it there without putting all their business out there. They and I used to want that kind of close relationship with my folks. If they allowed me to cuss like he was cussing in front of my, I just wish I had. Why are my parents so strict? Why are they so this? And now, to your point, I'm looking back. I look back and go, "Wow, thank you, thank you." They weren't the cool parents, but they were definitely. They did what they had to make sure that we and my family, my sisters and I, we had what we needed. Not always what we wanted, but what we needed.
For sure, because my mama, like, I remember my sister graduated with her master's. They threw her a big party down in Jackson State. My mama danced with us 2 minutes, and the first thing she said was, all right, that's enough of that. I don't party with my kids. I'm grown. I'm like
Yeah,
20, but it
yeah,
didn't make sense till I got super grown, and then you see other people like, okay, I get it. So it
yeah.
makes sense, but it was real hard for me to accept, like, everybody ain't grow up like me, especially when I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is cool. All right, next question. How can the city continue to balance new developments with the need to preserve affordable housing and prevent displacement?
Yeah, it's kind of like we talked about before. It's that balance. It is so hard because we want new stuff, and people in the community want new stuff. They want, you know, um, uh, we want density. Our city, when you look at where our population was, upwards to 2 million people, and now when you look at the numbers, it's like 600,000 plus, somewhere around there. That's a lot of people who have left the city,
Yeah,
and so when they leave behind the structures that they lived in, or the buildings that they worked in, all of those things, and they sit and they decay. So what we have to try to do now, all these years later, is make a decision again. Are we going to develop, or are we going to demolish? And if we develop, when we do so, that increases the value of things in that particular area, which everybody in that area, especially the homeowners, they want that. They want home values to go. They want the assessments to go. Because now my property, this thing that I own, is worth more. But what that does is it challenges those who either rent in those neighborhoods, because once the folks who own the homes that they are renting in realize, oh, we're up and coming. Well, now I can charge an up and coming rent. Like to your point, when you look at places in Brightmoor, 1,200, 800, man, it's just crazy how high some of those rents are. And that's not even an area currently that's being developed. We're in the process of making some improvements. We have a Brightmoor framework plan, and I hope to get into that a little bit later, where we're looking to refresh, if you will, Brightmoor. But that's going to come with some challenges. There's going to be for some people, some downsides, and I never like to, BS folks and say that no, everybody's going to be here. No, some people are going to be displaced. It's just going to happen based upon the dynamics of how things that we cannot control. I cannot control completely what your income is going to be. I cannot, as a government, control what your landlord is going to charge you for rent. I can't control that. What I can control is for that development that's coming to us and saying we are looking for some zoning changes in this residential area to allow for multifamily units. And that's all we need. We don't need your help. I go, hold. Can we offer you some kind of incentive so that we can help reduce the rents in some of those apartment units? And I go, well, keep talking. What does that look like? I said, well, can we go, and we see this is where market rate is. Can we drop it down, $500 more? Well, how do you do that? Well, I've got to now provide them with some level of subsidy. Again, we're usually talking about a reduction in their taxes based on the level of affordability that we're offering, that the developer is offering. And that could be in the hundreds of thousands, and depending on how large the facility is, could be in the millions, or the number of facilities. Now, that doesn't sound great when you say that you're allowing these entities to have a reduction in their taxes when, the average citizen is saying, well, what about me? What about my taxes? My rent's high. My taxes are high. Yeah, but I can't control that. What I can control is this new development that I want to entice to come into a community and build new housing to help relieve this crisis that we have in our city. But what we're finding out now is that the affordability, the level of affordability for these properties, that number, that income level is becoming much, much higher. Whereas before we were looking at someone who made in the area of $40,000 a year, family of 4, 3, or maybe 1 or 2. They needed help because the rents just didn't allow for them to move into either a single family dwelling or in these apartment units. Now we're seeing people who are making $70,000 and more can't afford the rents that are out here. And again, they're not building single family dwellings. So a mortgage, and that's a whole nother issue. Mortgages are out of their reach as well. So there's a balance. We do come in with incentives to try to entice development. There's this new pilot, this fast track pilot that we have that is being contemplated at City Council, and it's sponsored by 4 of my colleagues, that will essentially allow for, again, a payment in lieu of taxes. And I'm sure your folks know what that is, but it's going to allow that, but it's going to eliminate certain steps from the administration side, where they have to go through all of these different arduous, time-consuming steps, all the way through the city council side of things, which really our part is not honoring. I'm gonna be honest with you. You come to city council, you're gonna get questions. We're gonna grill you because we are here on behalf of the people. And if you're coming in my committee, you're gonna have a public hearing, which means that I'm gonna allow the public to ask you questions about the things that are happening in their neighborhood. You got to do that. But ultimately, if it's in the greater good of the city and the neighborhood, you're gonna get through. So a long answer to your short question is that we are, we have to, again, as I said earlier, balance that desire, that goal of ours to create more housing and affordable housing, raise the level of affordability so that it's actually not just affordable, but really attainable for folks. And that's the other thing. But being realistic and understanding and being honest that as horrible as it sounds, and I know if this was a campaign speech, I would be thrown out. But everybody is not going to so-called make it. There's going to be some that are going to be displaced based on conditions that I and the government can't control. Oh, your mute's on.
My bad. I like that you telling people the truth. So, because I've been going to these Joe Louis Greenway meetings, and they be in there straight up lying to these folks. Time up, because people be asking, "Are we going to just?" Oh no, you're not going to. They are going to get displaced. The same thing that happened to the city of Atlanta is happening to Detroit. We're just late to the party. We got another 3. I'm saying 10 years at the max. Really, I'm gonna say 5 to 7 before it's really a wrap. If you don't own you a house in Detroit, you will be displaced. And even if you do own, if you're not making enough money, or if y'all don't come together how Big Mama and them used to, and it's 2-3 generations living in a flat, so everybody can help take care of this home, you're going to get displaced because the taxes will go up. All these free tax programs they have right now are probably not going to be here forever. So y'all better take advantage of that and then go get some of these skilled trade programs and get your bag up because it's gonna get bad. I already see it. Like I already see it.
Well, you just mentioned other cities that these major cities, but we're seeing this in the suburbs as well across the country. Mm-hmm. Just there's an affordability crisis around the country, and so you may find a location today, and tomorrow, once everybody else found out about it, those folks who had to move, and they come to that location that you found 3 years later. Now everything rises. Now you're moving around. You remember that game you played when you were a kid, and the head pops up, you pop it down, and another one pops up, pop. That's what it ends up being when you're trying to find affordable housing in this country. So there was this Coleman Young had this saying back in the day that when the country caught a cold, Detroit caught the flu. And that is the same thing when we start talking about every aspect of these social issues, economic issues. When the world and the city, the world and the country and the nation catches a cold, we catch the flu. And part of it is because of where we're starting from, the ground floor or level 1, as opposed to level 8. And we got 12 levels, and we're on level 8. It's different when you're on level 2 and starting and you're trying to get up to 12. It's a big difference.
But see, another issue people sleeping on, we think Detroit is a bunch of crap. But the world is looking at Detroit. Now, Trump did make his little comment. I don't really feel no type of way about what he said because I don't care. Because I live here. I'm a Detroiter for life. But you have all these other people, especially from places that climates are changing, like those West Coast people, they are coming to Detroit. A lot of these houses that y'all see in the hood that's selling for over $100 grand right now, which is insane to us, those are pennies to those people because they'll sell their California house for $2 million and they'll come live on in Brightmo and buy the whole block and fence it off, and now they got a compound. They'll do that. I remember I rehabbed the house for a couple on Auger on the north end, like Auger and like Bobian or something like that. They were a mixed race couple, right? They moved here from California. They bought a 2-family flat from the land bank, and they bought the 2 lots next to the house. This is like 2017, 2018, right? Do you know this couple they drove over here in an RV, lived in that RV on that lot until we got done with their house and moved in? We won't do that.
No.
And then I had to reach out to them, but they probably rented out upstairs, or maybe they didn't, or maybe some more family came. I had another client. She moved here from California, not us. She moved on Dexter in Cortland, and it's like 2015. And I'm like,
I wouldn't do that, right? Let's be real. That's not,
Not in 2015, I wouldn't have did that. She bought a house on the land bank. We did all the mechanicals. We fixed up one room for this family. Do you know they lived in that one room when we got done and then fixed up the rest of the house till they went? But we got to have stuff right now, got to be moved and ready. Like these other people, some people got a whole different mindset. And we used to be like that because I grew up like that. Like we had a 2-family flat on Westminster in Oakland, 627. It got torn down some years back, right? everybody in my family has lived in that house at least once in their lifetime, because that was the family house.
Wow.
When you fell on hard time, that's where you went. My great granny was a slave. My great uncle was a slave. My great aunt, they came to Detroit in like the 40s. They lived there. Then my aunt, my mom's sisters and them, they came up here. My great aunts, all of them came up. Everybody lived in that house at one point. We lived there for like 8-9 months, right before my senior year at King. So this like 99, 2000. Because you remember the old channel they used to have on the cable, and they'll show all the events going on in the city. So they was building up Island View. They were starting to build them houses.
Yeah.
And I seen it, and I told my mom, I was like, hey, we should go to this. She listened to me. We went. That's how we got our house. My mama house right now worth almost $400,000. It on it. Her mortgage was like 65,000 in this 2000. So I told my mom, I was like, hey, instead of renewing your lease where we was living at, why don't we go stay with Auntie and them? She's like, you know what, baby girl, that's a good idea. And we went and lived in that flat. We was upstairs, and my aunt and them was downstairs. And for 7-8 months till our house got built, that's where we stayed. I don't know why we would not do that no more. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Well, I mean, again, we talk about the changes that we have in many of our families, and without trying to sound, that we were, less than, but when drugs came and it decimated a lot of our families. When we talk about our family members that were incarcerated, it broke up the family. When we look at and many times that incarceration wasn't even necessary, dime bags of weed. Now you're in jail for 3 years. That disrupts a whole generation when that happens. When dad, mom, cousin, nephew, niece, whoever it is locked up, and that sometimes wasn't the only offense that was attached to it. So that becomes even more of a challenge. And then we look at the school system that we have. That becomes an issue. So, like I said, I always look to try to how do I push people, keep pushing, but also have high expectations, because we have to have high expectations, because there is no other option at this point. We have to expect more of our community and ourselves, because the pressures that are squeezing on us, the pressures are only going to get tighter. They're only going to continue to get tighter as when we talk about financially, we talk about emotionally and psychologically. We see everywhere we look, there are people having breakdowns. They're having these mental breakdowns in their lives that, this is a tough time that folks are going through, but we've been through some real tough things over our generations, right?
Detroit done been through it.
Yeah. So this is not it. But that resiliency, that preparation, having the support. I mean, just the fact that you said that you had family members that you were able to identify that were slaves that moved in. A lot of us don't know any of that.
Like, I'm one generation away from Jim Crow. My mom was born in 46. I'm one generation away, and people don't really realize how long ago that really wasn't. That wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't. Not at all.
Yep. All right. What roles do small businesses and entrepreneurs play in Detroit's revitalization, and what initiatives is the city offering to help us grow?
So I think our small businesses, they play a major role, because that is the entryway for entrepreneurship. You're not going to start right off rip with a Fortune 500 company, right? I created well, at least in our community, right? Even if we crowdfund, it don't work like that, right? So you got to start at a point that makes sense. Now, when I say makes sense, you also got to know all the elements of the business that you're going into. You got to know the regulations, the laws, all of those things. You also got to know your crafts. So if you're baking, you got to be extremely good at it. That can't be the only thing that you're good at. You got to know how to hire the right type of employees. You got to understand the marketing aspect of it. You got to also understand where your cash and your reserves are going to be when things get tight, and how you're going to manage that. And you got to understand how to make sure that you don't get in trouble with Uncle Sam with your taxes and your books. All those things are important, but we may come out saying, "Man, I can make a great pie or a great cake," and it might be. I mean, it may be bomb, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to know all of those levels and those aspects of it. So it was, as we talk about the revitalization, it's important for us to provide the tools for these entrepreneurs to do all those things I just said. Understand, the back end of things, not just that product, that service that's being provided. So we have, many of us have heard about the Motor City Match, where there's funds and technical assistance that are provided to our small businesses to get them up and going and give them the plans, technical assistance again, but also renovation dollars for their front fascia improvement. All those things are available as well. The other thing, and this is the part that is seeds that are planted. We have Grow Detroit's Young Talent, and I talked about that today at a meeting that I was at. We've been doing this for well over 13 years now, of Grow Detroit's Young Talent. These are jobs that we have that are available for our young people, where they get an opportunity to kind of dip their toe in different professions for the summer. And it may not seem like a big deal, but
so,
if you
summer job they used to have when I was a kid, but
exactly. It's the same concept, but back when you were a kid, you probably were painting, park benches and things like that when you were working with the city of Detroit. That's what a lot of people. That was
not me.
Not you. See, I told you. You've been ready for this. You've been crying for this. I told you.
Not me, but others. Yes.
So that was what we offered as a city way back. You park benches. I'm painting the benches. I'm cleaning up, doing cleanups in place. Well, we don't do that anymore. We still have those opportunities as well, because it's still important for our young folks to have, some structure about themselves and understanding the importance of cleanliness and, hard work. But we're exposing them to those Fortune 500 companies. We're exposing them and placing them in offices like mine. We're exposing them and placing them in businesses that are going to give them exposure to opportunities that they otherwise would not have a chance and an opportunity to do so. So we're expanding their minds and giving them that encouragement, and they're getting paid as well, right? So it's not just you're here and you're getting a little bit of money. Some of these, they're getting $18, $15 an hour, depending on what it is. And we've expanded. Yes. So we've expanded the program now to go from the ages, I believe it's 14 to 24. Before it was just teenagers, but now we've expanded because we want to increase those opportunities, those mentorship, those apprenticeships, if you will, over that summer period. And that sparks, for some, it sparks something in them that they wouldn't have gotten if they were just painting park benches, cleaning up, or just sitting at home playing video games.
I'm about to talk to you about that, because I'm in the process of getting my BPI certification. Just go back to my thing about skills pay the bills. So I'm taking this class right now through Walker Miller and DTE Energy. It's an amazing class. They said it costs $20,000 per student that we didn't have to pay. They give us a stipend. It's for the next 6 weeks. So this was our first week. So it's been a rough week. I'm learning something completely new, but it's so much money just out here for us to make. But if we don't know, or we don't go get these skills, we're going to get left out.
Left behind.
Yep. So I think you said your nephew that's getting into HVAC.
Yeah.
He needs to get once he's finished HVAC, because that's the more he can do, the more he can get paid, because that's the energy efficiency lane, which is, a big thing right now in Detroit and just everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. So how is the city council addressing the issue of blighted properties and abandoned buildings? Well, we kind of talked about that.
Yeah. So here's the thing that frustrates me about our policy, though, and again, so this job is a tale of the best of times and the worst of times, so to speak. The best of times, when we look at even our like these school buildings that we have, many of us, especially if you grew up in the city of Detroit during a certain era, there were, school buildings all across the city in neighborhoods. And these were not just, so-called just school buildings. They were the center, the heartbeat of those neighborhoods. And when those school buildings shut down, there was something that was lost. That again, that heartbeat, it stopped. But in addition to that, what it did is it created a over the time, because nothing happened at that space, it became a blight. And it became what dragged down that neighborhood. That thing that was once the life and vitality of that community is now the thing that is driving it down, because there was nothing that's happening. It's being scrapped. You have grass not being cut. You got fences being torn down. I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible situation. Roofs that are decimated, and you're having the water. I mean, the rain and snow, all that, all the elements being exposed inside of that building. So it becomes a blight, and it just continues to drive down everything in that particular neighborhood. We're now at the point we put so the city of Detroit and the Detroit public school system, we both worked together, and we put these schools out for bid, and we said, who wants these buildings? Now, there were some, you come to us with what you want to do with it. We can give you all types of deals. We can give it to you for free. We can give it to you for, a couple $1,000s. We'll work with you with these subsidies, these abatements. We're going to do all these things. We're going to make sure, come to us with a plan on how you want to renovate these particular buildings. And we got very few takers. Now, there's some that are being developed right now, but the overwhelming majority of them are in disrepair still. And this survey we put out, this request for proposals that came out, I believe it was in 2022, maybe even been prior to that. But they sat, and we didn't get developers who were saying, I want to do that. And so now we're at the point where, do we continue to allow those structures to continue to bring down the neighborhood, or do we tear them down and try to entice some new development on that space? Maybe that is housing. Maybe that is a park that would help at least beautify that particular community. And unfortunately, we are at the point now where we are demolishing many of these very strong and sturdy. Remember, these buildings were built to be bomb shelters. You'll see that bomb shelter insignia out front, because they were built in that era when the nuclear wars were still a possibility, and so they were built very strong. And that strength is sort of a weakness, because they are so strong and sturdy. They're not so malleable like some of these new buildings. We just push it and the wall comes down, and you can change it and reconfigure it. These buildings are so super structured and built so sternly that it makes it very difficult for a developer to come in and do those real fun things that they want to do. One of the things that I was told, because I kept going to these developers, like, what is going on? We're going to give it to you for free. Why don't you just take it and do something with it? And it was like, one of the biggest issues.
It's the cost, the rehab on it. You got asbestos,
oh my goodness.
And then it's to the point, from a developer standpoint, you are better off tearing it down and just starting from scratch. But then I like the construction part. Like you said, you ain't gonna find that architecture no more. You ain't gonna find that crown molding no more. So I get wanting to preserve it, but I think maybe if y'all would talk to some of us developers, and maybe there'd be some type of grant, for affordable housing for us to preserve these buildings. I'm definitely down for that, because the RFP went out a while ago for the I forgot what it used to think. It used to be a YMCA on Harper and so many people sent that to me to help them bid on this, and I was like, I have to charge you to even walk through this. Like, do you know how long it's going to take me to really go look at these old blueprints of this building? And then I need your current idea what you want to do, and then we got to go look at it to see if what you're trying to do can even be done at whatever budget you talking. Like, you talking a $10-15 million rehab easy, to the point where you might.
That's on a low level. That's if you just doing basic.
Right, and that's just me just off the top of my head without even looking at something. I'm like, and then the prices that I give you today, you might not even start for a year. So I got to do a hell of a change order, because HVAC pricing went up so much this year. It's crazy. Every month furnaces just keep going up.
Yeah.
And over there, that's probably got a boiler. We're gonna have to probably take it out and convert an old building like that from boiler to forced air. That's probably $2 million.
Yep, that's what I said. I mean, that's $2 million just for that conversion. Then you talk about the asbestos abatement. That's going to be a couple million as well. Then we talk about trying to drill through that real thick, heavy concrete floor to just do the basics. I mean, and then you talk about those big hallways. That was one of the things that they talked about. So if we want to convert these schools into apartment buildings, one of the biggest drawbacks that was provided to me was those huge hallways. And because the walls are so sternly built, trying to increase that space or reduce the space, let me put it that way, reduce that hallway space is, the numbers just continue to rise, and they go up and go up and go up and go up. So that you won't find that architecture in the city being created anymore. But we also don't want to see these buildings continue to drag our neighborhoods down, because it doesn't provide an opportunity for a fresh change, a new way of living in those areas. It impacts negatively the quality of life. So we just had one school over here, Cadillac Middle School, and it all school crowd. And a lot of people got great memories. One of my colleagues, she has great memories over that school, and she was, tremendously upset about it. But we got to look at what the alternative is. It is sat there just vacant, and again dilapidated for well over 15 years now, and it wasn't getting any better. Some people had unfortunately died inside because they were doing various things. Some of them were trying to, house themselves. Some were trying to scrap the building. And so you got to, at some point, go, all right, put up or shut up, or as my folks say, blank or get off the pot, And
I remember that school was it on Atwater? That was like one of the first schools that they turned into like a condo.
Yeah. It's very weird.
Yeah, very like that when they did by me in Island View, they turned that into like them penthouses sold for $1 million, but it was a school. So
but see, that's the thing, right? It's the ROI. So when you talk about the return on investment, when you're in those areas, Island View, right? Now you got the water, you got all this accessibility, all these things. Now you can charge those high rents. You can charge a certain amount, but if you're in the neighborhoods where these school buildings have been allowed to just dilapidate and drag down the area, you can't get that same a level of return on your investment in those spaces, even with those subsidies that we offer. It just doesn't happen because the amenities aren't there either.
Or you can and put the amenities there, and then now we back to displacement.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we got to talk, man. I think we could help each other here.
I know. Because we both recognize the challenge and the issue. It's a matter now, who else we're going to bring to the table with some of these solutions?
I got a couple people I can connect you with, like my homie Deshaun. He specializes in a container home building with 3 Squared, and his specialty is helping veterans because he's a Navy. I think he was a Navy SEAL. Okay. So he specializes in like helping veterans because veterans can borrow up to $1 million, I think, with the VA loan. So he teaches veterans how to use their VA loan to get housing and stuff like that. So yeah, we got to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. This ain't the last time.
Yeah, I know, right?
Councilwoman.
Who Councilwoman? Me?
Yeah.
I be cussing, so I don't know, man.
Uh-oh. That's my dog. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. My phone cleat, so it's all good. What's your dog's name?
She is Sassy. I have Sassy.
Yeah. My dog name is Hawkeye. Well, my company mascot.
Yeah, Sassy is very sassy too.
It's fitting.
Yes, very much so.
All right, so now let's kind of get into public safety and community engagement. We kind of went over it, but maybe go a little more in detail. So public safety is a key concern for residents of Detroit, of course. What are some of the ongoing and upcoming initiatives to improve safety in Detroit's neighborhood?
Well, one thing that I'm extremely proud about is at least how we're beginning the process. I want us to continue to grow. Our numbers, our crime numbers, are down. It is not a time for a parade to happen because they're still way too high, but they are down. We got to look at it from the standpoint that every life that is saved, every person that is not victimized, that is a victory for us as a community. And the way we get there is not by enforcement alone. I'm a lawmaker. I write laws. Those laws, if they're not enforced, that becomes a challenge. But there are a lot of people who won't do something. I mean, the fact that the law is there is not what's preventing them from doing these things. There's some moral code, all those things that stop it. But what also affects this element of or increase of crime, or actually is reducing the crime, is our community engagement. And it's not just the officers going into neighborhoods, showing themselves, present. What we have now is what's called violence intervention individuals, CVI. And we have them, and they're in place now, and they are our go-between, if you will. They're people who, many of them had one leg in that world, one leg out. And they have relationships with those individuals who are doing the criminal activity. And they're convincing them in ways that we can't as government to lessen and or stop those things that they're doing. We have groups that are, and they're not doing it, again, just by going in and talking. They were doing that at first, and we were seeing some reduction. But what we did, and the reason I said I'm pleased is because I was the first council member that was recommending this as a result of having conversations with members of the community, Force Detroit primarily being the big push behind it. But what we're doing now is we're investing in these organizations that are going out and working on behalf of not the city of Detroit and the police department, but on behalf of the community, because these are community members that are utilizing these dollars that we have provided them to create mentorship programs. Some of them are creating entrepreneurship programs and some of them are exposing them to how to be a more civically rounded individual as well. And these are young people that they're really focusing on. So that's one way, and I think one of the most important ways that we are approaching public safety in a different way than we did before. I'm sad to hear that our police chief is leaving to go to be the CEO of Detroit Wayne Integrational Health Network, Mental Health Network. But I'm also pleased that he's over there, because he is someone who has this current chief, James White, who approaches policing in a different way than certainly his predecessor and others before him, for sure. We're looking at, not just criminalizing folks, but again, trying to understand what are the causes, what led individuals down this pathway. Because if we can find that out, if we address it on that end, if we go to that root cause, now we can cut it. Hopefully we can address it at that point, and it doesn't grow. We still going to have to deal with those who had that trauma, those childhood traumas that they have deeply ingrained in them. We're going to have to deal with that. Those folks who commit these criminal acts, we're going to have to deal with them. And not to say that we're going to be light on them. If you hurt somebody, you're going to have to get a timeout. You're going to need a timeout. We want you to have a timeout so you don't hurt anybody else. But we also, while you're there, when you're there, we've got to figure out how to ensure that when you come out, that you come out as someone who understands, one, the severity of what you did, but also understands that we can't have you doing that again, because there's no tolerance. We also have to make sure you have what you need when you get out. We can't just go, all right, you're out, bye, because now you've got to figure out where you're gonna live, what kind of income you're gonna have, how do you get back into life again on the outside. So you're seeing municipality, you're seeing the state of Michigan, you're seeing the city of Detroit. We're investing in our justice impacted individuals. We call them, formerly incarcerated. We call them returning citizens, justice impacted, all of the above. These are folks who have been in our criminal justice system and they've spent some time behind bars. We're now working smarter, if you will, to try to ensure that we have resources for them on the way out. And there's some people who say, you should not provide those people with resources because those are tax dollars that should go towards, All these folks we talked about is being priced out, that being pushed out. You should put those monies over there. These people, they were, bad. They're the scourge of the earth. Well, here's the thing: they have now served their time. So we now, and they're now out in society. And if we do not do what we can to try to provide the services that they need, they very well may slip back into that world, because rule number one is survival. Yeah. That's rule number one, survival. And we're not trying to help them survive in the best way that they can. They're going to revert to what they know or what they have to do to do just that, survive. So those are the ways that we're doing. We're looking at public safety differently. Like I said, I'm going to miss this chief because he really put a emphasis on trying to understand better why people do what they do, while at the same time, enforcing the law where we have to enforce them as well. When you hurt somebody again, you need some time out. We're going to put you away. We're going to find you too. That's the other thing. Making sure that we don't have all of these open cases like we had in the past. We would have back at the time when I worked briefly at the police department, our closure rate on criminal activity was very low, extremely low. And right now we're pretty much on par with the rest of the country, which is good or bad depending on where you look at things. Where we are in the country as a whole. But I think also when you actually catch people who do these bad things, it also serves as a bit of a deterrent for folks, or at least makes them move differently, right? It makes them move a lot differently. We have technology as well that we're utilizing that some people are fans of, and it's in a way a generational thing. It may even be a class thing as well. But we have a technology that we're using to also help enforce, or better yet, to help with investigations in the event that something happens. We have green lights. We see cameras everywhere. But then there's people who don't like cameras everywhere. They say you're prying into my personal life. I don't know how I'm prying into your personal life if I'm looking at the street, but
you're walking in the gas station, maybe they might be cheating on their diet and then what their doctor see.
See, it's something. It's something. But again, I understand that, because you can't give government the full reign of the ability to do whatever the heck we want to do, because we've all seen how governments have trampled on people's rights, have not always wanted the best for the citizens that we are supposed to serve, and have flat out been racist and bigoted. We've seen that, and we prayerfully won't put somebody in office. I'm just going to say it. Won't put somebody in office in November that is going to lead us back in that direction. When you have someone who sits there in front of police officers and say, you got to rough folks up, it's time to rough people up, and that's going to somehow magically change people's behavior. That don't change behavior. What that does is now you just created a reaction. Now you create a situation where now it's very clear who the enemy is. There's no gradation at that point. Good guys, bad guys. When you have someone who is willing to just make up stories about people eating animals, and I'm giving them a little soapbox, that's bad. But that shows you where we are as a country, that this individual still has a real opportunity to be the next president of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And that's not even looking at policies. That's looking at the person, the heart. And if that's what a person does, and that's their heart, why would I not think that their policies wouldn't follow?
I don't know. Like, I really try not to talk political stuff because I'm like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Yeah. But as far as Harris go, like, I don't know. She specifically said, like, on some clips I've seen, like when she was running against Biden, as far as I'm not specifically doing things for Black people. And I saw that she recently came out with something that she's doing for Black men, but I didn't watch it or anything to really see. I seen clips on it, so I can't really, comment on it, because the only thing I saw was the one about, the marijuana laws. And I'm like, did she lock up a lot of people in California? So I don't know.
So here's the thing. That's what I always tell folks: do your research, right? When you hear these things, it's up to us to do our research. So there was a rumor that and it was out there that she imprisoned so many Black men. That's not true. Just look it up. But you also got to think about, what was her job? She was a prosecutor. That's her job, to put people who do things that are against the law, to provide that level of enforcement, right? To take it to court.
Right. I don't have an issue with her doing that. Like, my only issue with her or whomever is in that position, just don't be overcharging people, because that
Yeah,
happens. And charge them for what they exactly did. And if you have enough evidence, then charge them, convict them. That's fair. My only issue, not her, just whoever's in that position, just don't overcharge people, and don't, plant evidence and stuff like that. Because that does happen in our community too.
it does. It does. But the thing about it is that doesn't transfer to everybody. So
right.
Here we are. We're having a conversation, having a conversation with me, and you just said we need to talk afterwards. I can put a number of people who sit in the same seat in other cities in front of you, and you wouldn't have that reaction. You're like, I never want to talk to this person, see them again. So
I can do that.
We got to make sure that we don't paint everybody with the same, broad brush. That's why I always say, we got to do our homework, because right now it's down to 2. It's down to 2. So, and the other thing is, and my wife just came home, and I hope she don't hear this, but we don't always agree on everything. But I love my wife.
Yeah, right? Young United Front.
Exactly. But it's the same thing when we start talking about our political candidates as well. Those who we want to help lead us. We may not appreciate and like everything, because they're people and they have to respond to multiple groups within the country. But what we do have to do is look at, what are they saying? Not what I'm hearing other people say, but what am I hearing them say themselves? And then I have to match up what I believe is the best, or what would be the best out of possibly the worst situation. And to me, it's just one of those candidates, just literally everything he says just repels me. And I cannot get to the point where I can turn around and say, I love his foreign policy, but I'm just going to ignore all the fact that all he does is hang out with, racists, and bigots that have books and go out and say all these horrible things. And then he says these things, and then all of a sudden they go, well, he was just joking. And then he says, no, I wasn't joking. And they say, no, he's just playing. And he says, no, I'm not playing.
Comment about Detroit, because I didn't see it. I just seen clips. Like, do you know what he fully said? I'm pro Detroit all day, right or wrong. So.
Yeah, what he said was essentially that, and I watched the clip because clearly I was not there in person, so I watched clips. And he said essentially, if you put Harris in charge of the country, everywhere around the country, essentially, he paused, everywhere, frankly, will look like Detroit. So what he was talking about is that Detroit that you and I grew up. Well, let me take it back, because you look like I don't see any gray hairs.
Well, I'm 41. A lot of people don't be believing that, but I'm 41. Okay. I would say, until I started watching a lot of these documentaries on the crack epidemic that happened in Detroit, I didn't realize Detroit was that bad, because my family, they didn't play them games. Now, I had family who was, doing their thing out here, but we couldn't go over there.
Yeah.
And I'll be sitting there watching the documentaries like, damn, all this was going on in Detroit. That's crazy.
But that's the Detroit that he's talking about. He's not talking about the Detroit that, again, according to numbers, and like I said, we got a long way to go. We had the lowest murder rate for certain since 1966. And we're right now on track to have numbers that are lower than that. Now, we have explosions. We have, like on I think it was the 4th of July when we had that unfortunate situation where all those folks were shot.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing that like we did before. Do we feel safer? That's relative, right? But we also got to look at the actual numbers that show, as I said before, every life that's saved, every person that is not victimized, that's a victory for our community. We've got to look at it from my opinion, we got to look at it that way. He's talking about that Detroit that people came in when they came in from Switzerland or Germany to come and look at the ruins, right? They would call it ruin porn. He's talking about that Detroit. He's talking about the crack field Detroit, where you had, the gangs that were using kids to go out and do the dirty deeds because the kids won't get the heavy drugs, the heavy sentences. He's talking about that Detroit. He's talking about the Detroit where, you know, the businesses fled our city and went to the suburbs or out of this country. He's not talking about the Detroit that we have now, where we're seeing, you know, you saw the draft. We had the largest numbers that they've ever had.
Did you see the news interviews? Well, it wasn't on the news. It was like this multiple like independent influencer Detroit pages, and they were going around just asking people how did they feel about the draft, and everybody said, "I'm shocked because you always heard this negative stigma about Detroit, and we came here and it's like y'all are right. Look, yep. Detroit is a city. If you mind your business, you will be just fine. Now, if you are a part of those alternative lifestyle things, then you know, hey, that's your business. But overall, Detroit is a very dope city. We have amazing people. We do have some type of hospitality, I think so. And it's another thing I noticed too, as far as crime. I've noticed our crime is overall going down, and then crime in the other areas are going up. And I wonder if that's because the people who are being displaced,
they're leaving.
They go into these other areas across 8 Mile or across Gratiot or across Telegraph. And I wonder if people really starting to pay attention to that. Like, I remember seeing the article where some crime was happening in Chesterfield. And I was like, Chesterfield? Like, we out there?
So here's a dirty little secret. And I say it's a dirty little secret, and I know it, and folks may not want to talk about it, but I worked in TV news. I think I told you that. And I worked at the assignment desk. And it was stuff that was happening back then in those cities. It just wasn't as heavy and ugly and as attention getting as the stuff that was happening in the city of Detroit. Now, I can't say it was at the same levels, and we are seeing, you know, violence in some of these communities that traditionally haven't had, you know, the levels of crime that we see now. We are seeing higher levels, but we're also seeing more access to firearms, a higher level of access to high-powered firearms than we've ever seen in this country. And you're starting to see that in those suburban communities, those rural communities. You're also seeing unchecked mental health challenges that are happening. And you're also seeing, I believe, the politics. Remember I told you, that's why it's important to make sure you have great leadership or better leadership, the best leadership you can have. Because if you have leadership that tries to create these divisions and try to create good guys and bad guys, now you have the community that's going to do much of the same. They're going to create the good guys and bad guys in their neighborhoods, and that's a problem. In their communities, that's a problem. And we're starting to see that. We have, and I know we're getting short on time, so I want to make sure I put a plug in. We good? Okay, cool. I want to put a plug in. So we just rolled out a campaign. I'm like the spokesperson because I came up with it. It's called Protect Your Crown. And it focuses on mental health. And it's a mental health advocacy and awareness campaign where we are really focusing on how to first shed the light on the fact that mental health is important. Your mental health is important. Also, there's places and spaces that you can go and things that you can do to address any mental health concerns that you have. And you don't have to wait until there's a air quote big problem to go and seek services, seek therapy, talk to folks, talk through your challenges with people. So that's the you know the campaign-ish part of it. And there's more elements to it as well. The big piece that we have is we have a survey that's out. And that survey, it's an anonymous survey. We want every Detroiter to fill it out. So I know you got, you know, your followers going, you know, once I say it, they're gonna go knock it out, right? So we have a survey that we have that's out here that is asking 19 really not hard questions, but they are very personal questions about, you know, the individuals who's filling out journey along the pathway of mental health. You know, what's your experiences? What are you going through? What's your challenges in terms of getting even assistance? What have you seen? What have you felt? 19 anonymous questions. We don't want to know who you are. We just want to know what zip code you live in so we can know what's going on in the different parts of the city. The reason why this survey is important, this is the first time the city has ever done this. We're putting this survey out because it's going to give us the true state of mental health in the city of Detroit. That's important because we keep talking about what we think, what we know, and we see a news story, we hear a story, but we want to get from the community what their perspective is and what's going on. That information that we get will be used by the health department and any other ancillary department within the city to identify the resources that we're going to go after to help our residents. So it's not just blindly, we want to help, we want to focus on this, or we want to focus on that. And, a lot of times when some explosion of violence or some explosion I'll just say explosion of violence that happened as a result of someone who has a mental challenge. Now all of a sudden, people are interested in that particular so-called illness. That as opposed to maybe that's not everybody's story. Maybe we got to deal with it, but maybe there's something else much more prevalent in our community that's boiling and soon is going to boil over and create an even bigger challenge. That's what this survey is going to do. So we're asking folks, we're looking for 5,000 responses right now. And I'm asking folks, if you go, it's real easy to find and it's online. You Google Protect Your Crown Detroit. Protect Your Crown Detroit. And I'll guarantee you that's going to be the very first link that pops up. When you go onto that link, fill it out, hit enter, that information comes to us. Thank you for that. Fill that out. And that information is going to come to us, and we're going to use it, like I said, to better understand the state of mental health in the city of Detroit. But more importantly, going to use that as a blueprint to determine what resources we go after to help our residents. And the other piece to it is, because we can't do it all. Government, we can't do it all. There's service providers that are out here that are doing a great job. And sometimes they need data that they can give to funders to help with whatever they're trying to now navigate and move towards. What's going to happen at that point is those folks can also use the data that we provide to help get additional grant funding to, again, help our population. So it is so critical, so important. We're at about 1,000 surveys right now. So we're doing, not so bad, but we're looking for 5,000. That will give us just under 1% of the population in the city of Detroit. I think that's very doable. I think it's very doable.
Yeah, I think that's dope. I Googled it too before she put it in the comments, but I posted the actual link and stuff too. But I think that's amazing. But if you send it to me, I can email it out to my list and I'll put it in my link tree too on social media.
Oh, we're gonna definitely get it to you. And I got a theme song too that I created.
Yeah.
So I want you to check it out. It's called, again, Protect Your Crown and All the Way Down. And we say Protect Your Crown and All the Way Down because
did you drop it to the flow when you said all the way down?
No, I did. No, I ain't playing. B-A-R-Z, bars. We got them.
I hear you. I
play you not. I'm serious. So it's actually, the song is on that link. It should be on that link as well. It's on all major platforms. We don't play.
Is it like an actual video of you like rapping it?
No, not a video. We're gonna work on a video, but we got
if you do a video, I want to be in it, and I got a
you got a verse?
I'll come up with a verse.
Okay. Well, let's do it. Remix.
I know, right?
Remix. So Protect Your Crown and All the Way Down. It's not just you thinking about it and you just going and getting therapy that's going to help you work through things. It's also what you put in your body, how what you eat, the substances that you put in your body as well, and your movement or non-movement of your body. All that affects your mental health. So Protect Your Crown and All the Way Down.
I like that. I'm gonna skip some of these questions because you kind of answered them when you were
talking about.
Hey, it ain't nothing wrong with it. Let's see. Here's one. How do you see the role of technology and innovation evolving in Detroit's economy, and what is the city doing to support growth in those sectors?
Oh, that's a good question. Technology, it changes so much, every day, and we're finding ourselves using technology much more so than we did in the past. I mean, as I mentioned before, when we talk about law enforcement, we have the green light. These are cameras. We have what's called Shot Spotter, where it listens, and if it hears gunfire, it will triangulate and send officers to the location where the gunfire went off. We are using technology now to upgrade many of the systems that we have that we were manually doing that cost us a whole lot of money. So it's now we're being more efficient. You heard about in the past where residents were overassessed and you know, all those dollars. Well, part of that was because of technology and a lack of manpower. So we're dealing with the manpower piece, but we also changed our technology and upgraded it so that we won't have that issue again. So technology is huge. We are working on every time we turn around, there's a new IT contract that's coming before us to try to upgrade, to improve processes that we have, and connectivity as well. You know, I think that's very, very important. But you know, it's hard to keep up. I mean, when you look at what's available now in the AI space, you know, it is intriguing, it is scary, it is exciting. All those things all wrapped up into one. You know, for those who have never used ChatGPT, you should just try it. It's the craziest thing. It's the craziest thing because I mean the amount of flexibility. Now I will say, you still got to know what you're doing when you use it. So it's still not as easy as some people think, because you can put something in ChatGPT and it look like it came out of ChatGPT.
That's how I came up with these questions.
That's funny. Look at you. You don't supposed to tell the secret. You don't supposed to pull back the curtain.
Look, my undergrad is industrial engineering tech, and I use all of that in my business, and that's really what has helped me to this day. Like that's how I started with clients, because most of my clients don't look like me. They're not from America or not even in Michigan, and everything be tech.
So and so you know, it was interesting when we talk about tech, like the COVID. When COVID hit, we had to now retreat, you know, to home. And all we knew is how to do government in person. And now we're doing government. We're passing ordinances. We are moving millions of dollars. We're doing all this stuff now on the screen. And Zoom really changed. I mean, well, I'll just say the pandemic and the tools that we have, it really changed the way that everything operated. We now at City Council, we have what's called hybrid meetings. So you're now able to watch the meetings at home and you can participate in person. And most people do it at home now. They will call in and participate that way. So that's how we get more community engagement. Now you don't have to pay, you know, $20, $30, whatever that cost is, to come down to City Council just to say, you all didn't do this thing for me. You can say all that on the phone now, right? Make it real simple.
If I hear that on the phone, I'm hanging. You know what? I don't have to hear this.
See, we're gonna work on you. I tell you, Councilwoman,
that's why I can't be no council lady.
I said we're working on you, Councilwoman. It's coming. It's coming.
Nope. A lot of these youth questions you already answered, so I'm gonna go to this one. So here goes another one. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that Detroit is currently facing, and how do you and the council plan to address them over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. That affordability.
Yeah, we kind of did.
That's one of the biggest one. Improving our educational system in the city, and you know, I'm past the point where I try to demonize, and you got some folks who demonize charter schools. Half of our kids are in charter schools. Now, I will say this: charter schools did not do that thing that a lot of the proponents on the front end said it was going to do. It was going to transform our educational system in the city of Detroit. It didn't happen. Many of the charter schools are at the same, have the same challenges the students do as those who are coming from DPS. And in many situations, some of our DPS CD students are doing far better, you know, depending on where they are. I would say that's a challenge that we have, and we as a community have to figure it out. Now, the city of Detroit government, we don't run the schools, so we don't have any authority over the schools, but we have to identify what is our proper space, because we can't just say, oh, not ours, hands off. We've got to respect the jurisdiction, but also understand that we're all in this together. So I would say that's another challenge. And I would still say, public safety, it still remains a challenge for us. We can talk about these numbers that they're the lowest, crime rate since 1966, and we're doing better this year, but it's still too daggone high.
Yeah.
I would say until those are, in my opinion, the three things that we have to deal with. And of course, the mental health of our residents. I will never let that not be on that list. We have to make sure that we have the resources available. We've got this new facility that's going to be built over in my district, which I'm very excited about, because we're going to be able to have beds for folks who need the assistance, that immediate crisis that they're in. And if they have to stay a few nights, they can stay a few nights as well. Those who just need a little tune-up, touch-up, you can do that at that location. It's coming on in the area of Southfield and 7 Mile. So that's happening. There's other facilities that are being raised up throughout the city. So we are putting much more emphasis on the mental health of our residents, far more than we have in the past. It's not an issue where if we're asking people, the residents, to no longer to have shame. We got to make sure that we step up and shout it out and provide the resources that are necessary to allow people to get that help that they need.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I remember growing up, we used to have like a lot of mental health places, but I remember when I think was it the governor Engel? Engel. I think he had closed a lot of stuff.
Yeah, shut a lot of them down, and
yeah,
that created a big challenge, and we have yet to recover from it, because the rumor is, and I was not as closely engaged in politics at that time, but the rumor was that many of those folks who were in the institutions at the time, they were bussed down into Detroit. That was, again, the rumor. Can't say it's fact, but we do see a high percentage of our homeless out in the open population in downtown Detroit.
I believe it, because I remember that that on what's that, off 75 in Lafayette, I think that was a mental health place, and then they turned into like a school or something.
Yeah. A lot of our state-run facilities, they were shut down. All of them shut down, and that created a major challenge. So now we have smaller providers trying to do the work that these major, large institutions were doing, and many years have gone by. So again, that's what gets me excited about the fact that we're about to have, this major player over here in our area that's going to help, people in my community and on this side of town for certain get the help that they need.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So you kind of brought up COVID a little bit. So it did bring a lot of changes to cities worldwide. So how do you believe that Detroit has adapted, and what lessons do you think we've learned in terms of public health, local government, and economic resilience?
Well, one thing we learned is things can change at the drop of a hat, and what affects the world, we're not immune from. It comes our way as well. But I'm very proud of the way that our city responded to it. We were one of the first places that actually had PPE, and it sounds weird to say that now. I remember going to the store and couldn't find anything, but we huddled together, the mayor, and I got to give the mayor a whole lot of credit. We don't always see eye to eye because we don't supposed to. We have checks and balances, and that's not to say he's always wrong. He's a bad guy, but our job is to do the check and balance of each other. But I will always give him the ultimate kudos for the way that he led the city in terms of our COVID recovery, but more so, not just the recovery. That's not the word. Our COVID protocol, our navigation, the way we navigated COVID. Let me put it that way. And a lot of it was based on the relationships that he had built before being mayor of the city of Detroit. He worked in the health system, and he was a assistant prosecutor. Not assistant prosecutor. He was the deputy Wayne County prosecutor in his 20s. I mean, when you have that, you come with a certain level of connectivity, and then when you couple that with the knowledge base and the connection that the council members born and raised have in the city, we made a pretty good combo. So we were able to have PPE in the city of Detroit. I mean, excess PPE, where we were sending them out to some of our senior homes, and we were able to donate them at PPE drives. You know, when people just come by and just get your PPE, we'll go out to grocery stores and just hand it out. We had stuff that states did not have, not other cities, whole states did not have. We set up a testing facility that was first class, phenomenal. That wasn't happening in many states. We had the vaccine, and I know that there are some people who feel a certain way about the vaccine, but I personally believe that it certainly helped positively impact our numbers in terms of those who would have passed, who did not. I'm a proponent of it. Now, as time goes by, the strain and COVID, all this stuff changes. There's going to be a time for possibly another vaccine of something else that's coming down the road. And so that's what COVID taught us, that you can never be too comfortable. You can never be too lax. And you've got to come together and use every bit of your resources to be the best resource for your people. That was the one thing that we learned. So, at that time, we were all trying to keep ourselves healthy, our families healthy, but, duty calls. So we had to make sure that we did everything on behalf of the residents. And I think it showed, based on, how horrible our numbers were. I'm not going to say we had good numbers in terms of deaths, because I lost friends for certain, and some family members, right? But I also look at those places that did not do the things that we did, and it was much worse, much worse.
I will say the city, I ain't even got nothing bad to say, because my mom passed from COVID, and they did a citywide funeral, which was amazing. And they gave us like a food voucher to go to like some of the different restaurants in Corktown that was there, like giving back to the city. And it was dope. Like, people had bus loads of family, because a lot of people couldn't really have funerals. Maybe they couldn't afford it. They didn't have life insurance and stuff like that. And then they also did a lot for business. They had grants for us. Like, I had got like $20,000 just to help keep your business afloat. Like, the city really looked out during COVID. Like, I would never say nothing bad. They gave out a whole bunch of PPE, masks, gloves,
face shields, all that good stuff.
Yeah, the shoes, the goggles. We actually still use our goggles. I'm like, these are the good goggles, like the clear ones and stuff. Like, so if you around like chemicals and stuff, like, they really did their part. I don't know what other cities did, but I can't say one bad word about the city of Detroit when they did, like, during COVID. They did their part, and they really need to be a test for other cities. Because I seen an article, I think last week, in the news posted it too, that the mayor was over in California with Oakland, because Oakland is basically going through where Detroit was, or in the process, and like they were over there, I guess, trying to get some help. And I was like, that's crazy that Detroit is now a test study for other places. But I mean, that's major.
Well, and that's what I say about that guy who's trying to be president, right? That's not part of his story. And if we forget all the stuff that other people saying, just listen to that. Listen to what he's saying. That's important. And I'm not here to politic, but that's the real.
I'm with you.
That's the real.
All right. Looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for Detroit? Where do you see the city in the next 5 to 10 years? And what are some of your top priorities to get us there?
So long-term, I think we are certainly on the upswing. If we're not careful, we're going to end up like DC, and that's not what I want it to be. I love visiting Washington, DC.
Why do you think DC? I never thought about DC. Now, Atlanta for sure, I see it. I've never thought about DC. That's a good analogy.
It's to me one of the best analogies, because if you look at DC was run down. DC was that place that they were, talking about really, really bad. And it was full of Black folks. Chocolate City, remember?
It was Chocolate City as a kid. I couldn't wait to get big.
Yep, Chocolate City. And now it's not. And so you look at what happened to all those folks who lived in DC. Where are they? Where did they go? They didn't end up staying there. And then if you look and you try to get any little piece of land in DC, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you big. So I like visiting and being in DC, you know, having some fun here and there and seeing things I don't see, and being part at the nation's capital and all of that. But to actually live,
Hello.
so I, can
You
you hear
can,
me?
yeah, I think you froze for a second.
Oh, am I there now?
Yeah, welcome back.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's I don't want us to do that. So that I think we have to be very careful to not be ADC. So we're working to create policies that help our folks and be mindful, because that is a case study of how, in my opinion, just going out and doing development and just doing it just to do it just to turn the city around. We got to make sure. I think that's a bad policy. So, but it's a balance. It's a balance. What and my role, as long as I'm here, as long as the people keep me here, is to make sure that I keep the community at heart first. You know, I not my will. It's the people who I serve. That's why again I have these 3 community meetings in addition to other community actions and engagements. So I'm filled with what the people want me to do, and ultimately I'll get to the table, and it's not me making that vote. We are making that vote. That's how I plan on continuing, my tenure, as long as the people keep me in this position.
I've never really ever thought about comparing us to DC. Now I got to do some homework.
Uh-oh.
Because you're right though. Like now that you broke it down to like it was Chocolate City, I remember that. Like in watching movies, like Thin Line Between Love and Hate, they was talking about it, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
dang, that's really a good point.
Yeah. And they started bit by bit, piece by piece, and now it's, when you talk about unaffordable, man, it is extremely unaffordable in DC right now.
My only biggest fear as far as the gentrification or redevelopment of Detroit is Detroit losing its culture, because I'm a firm believer in, had not Black Detroit stayed when we were the slum of the slums, the current Detroit we got now we would not have. Like I'm a firm believer in that. Like I remember when we was protesting because they was trying to close Burke's. Remember that? Because the
Mhm.
landlord had raised the rent so high over there, and this was before the Eastern Market really started popping to what it is now, when it used to be nothing but Black businesses downtown. And then
Mhm.
that's what really kept downtown afloat. And then they started jacking the rent up, and the Black business had to go into the neighborhoods. So it's like
Mhm.
they really need to thank Black Detroit, because if it wasn't for Black Detroit, the current Detroit we got, we would not have.
It will certainly look different.
It
It will
would look
certainly
different, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that. Like, you welcome.
right, right, right.
You're really welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone who I welcome folks from outside of the city to come in, because we have to increase density. Uh,
Yeah.
and me welcoming folks from outside of the city also includes those who used to live in the city and moved out to the suburb. We want you to come back too. The beautiful thing is, now I remember back when I was growing up, and I may have said this earlier. I remember when my mother wanted me to go away to schools in the worst way and never come back.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come back. Now my grades weren't good enough to go away anywhere. Wouldn't nobody accept me, so I ended up staying here and going to Wayne State on a probationary program. And again, here we are, and I'm blessed to be in this position. But I remember parents all across, they were telling their kids, "Don't come back, leave. There's nothing here," and they're not saying that as much anymore. Now we're actually starting to see our young people seeing themselves staying here and thriving in the city of Detroit. We've got to make sure that we do what we can as city government and our partners, so that our kids, our young folks, will have an opportunity to stay here through affordability and various other challenges that we have.
Well, I do think that's happening, because I was in I call it the Uppity Myers, the Rivertown one, the one up there in Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
but it's very
I
quite
have. Yeah, they
quite
have they have sushi.
listen, I went in there one time, this was last year, they had a DJ on Friday. I was like, okay.
Really?
They was playing our music. I'm like, okay. But it was like the 92.3 music, which I was cool with. I'm like, they people in there doing the hustle. I'm like, if this ain't for us, I'm not, complaining. But I called at the Uppity Meyer. So I was in there the other day, and this guy was like, "Hey," and I looked up like, "You talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah, you agent. Thanks for what you post. Like, I moved back to Detroit because of you." I'm like, "Whoa, like that's huge," because I'm very firm on like what you said. Like, okay, we left. to get our education and stuff. You making the money, come back, because those type of jobs are in Detroit too, because they need, especially if you're from Detroit, those people to fill those jobs too, because it's a lot of good jobs here in the city too if you have the education and the skills, to perform those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And then wherever you went to, that cost of living probably through the roof anyway. So to come back home ain't no big thing as far as your cost of living with rent and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just gotta just keep that thing moving, but just be mindful that make sure we have a goal, and that goal can't just be grow, grow, grow. It has to be proper growth. And now, you know who you are and what seat you sit in. That proper growth could look a whole bunch of different ways. But for me, it's making sure that there's space for new folks coming into the city, but also preserving the space for those, as many as possible, that we can keep here. And to your point, making sure that the culture stays what it is. So we still saying what up, though, and not what up, dude. So and I ain't mad at what up, dude.
It's different. When Miss Harris was here, the Vice President Harris, when she was just here, she was on the radio station, and Ice Weber and them greeted her as "What up, though." I fell out laughing. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. I don't care who in front of me. I'm still going to be me.
That's right.
And that's one thing I love about Detroit. Like, we ain't afraid of nobody. We don't care who you are, what your status is. It's still, what up, though? How you doing? What you want to do?
Prove yourself. You got to prove yourself.
Exactly. I love it. All right, we almost done here. This was a dope conversation. I feel like we just on the phone and everybody else just here.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you going to have me back?
Whenever. You let me know.
Okay. All right. Don't let me be your co-host now, because we can do this together.
You got to come out to Real Estate Fridays. We have a good time.
Okay.
All right. So what do you think are the qualities that make an effective city council? A councilman or woman, and how do you strive to embody those qualities in your daily work?
So I think someone who is transparent about what they do, someone who is dedicated to people, who understands that this job is about service and not power. Someone who is willing to, and this is the hard part, but it's the reality of it, and it's not always good for us, but putting everybody else's problems before yours, and that's what that has to happen, because there's so many of these problems that are out here. As soon as you start worrying about yours, you kind of lose focus on what's going on. It's the craziest thing, because it drives you crazy, to be honest with you. It puts an added level of stress on you, but I think that's why you got to be a special person to want to do this and do it for the right reason. Because if you're coming in for, all the so-called wrong reasons, power, money, influence, that gets old real fast. And that allows people, unfortunately, get corrupted because they're looking for that shot, so to speak. And when it doesn't come, or it comes too fast and they don't know how to adjust and to it, then it becomes very, very, very problematic for them. And then we start to see headlines. We don't want to see that. But being dedicated to people, understanding that this is about service, not about power, influence, or money, and being patient. I think that's important as well, because the things that we want to see done and the things that your residents want to see done will never happen overnight. It always is an escalation to getting that point. But the other thing, and the last thing I'll say is celebrate your victories, because they don't always come. And like I said before, when they come, they may be short and fleeting. So celebrate them when they happen. And I got to also say this. Know how to identify good talent, because you cannot do what you do and be successful by yourself. You got to have a strong team around you. And I am so blessed to have a strong team around me. That is so critical. Some say, hire people that's smarter than you. I won't always say that, but you got to have some folks, you got to have people that's going to bring in skills that you don't have, that's going to enhance what you have, that's going to be willing to tell you that you're wrong when you think you're right, that's willing to give you an adverse opinion. They ain't got to tell you, it's how you say it, right? Always.
Right.
But you want people to tell you the truth. You want people that's hardworking. And then you want that as well as being that council member too. So a hard worker is also one of those key qualities that I think is important to be a council member. And then also in your case, someone who doesn't want to be a council member.
Y'all ain't gonna bully me.
They did it to me.
Days early. I ain't no early bird. Like me being in this class all week, boy, it's been a rough week. I'm not a morning person.
That's funny. That's funny.
I told the people in class, like, hey, don't talk to me to like 11:30. So that's when I'm gonna wake all the way up.
Make your hours. Make your hours.
No, I make my own hours. That might, I don't know. Oh, I gotta be there at 8:00 in the morning. On time.
Sometimes.
But see what this
most of our meetings they start at 10 a.m. That's a good time, right?
Still early, but I can that's better than 8:30. I have to get up. I gotta walk my dog first. I'm like, this too much.
And then don't forget about the community meetings that you have at that end sometime at 9:00 p.m. 9:30.
I can do those. That's cool. That's evening.
Okay, all right.
But I still ain't council lady.
We're gonna work on you.
All right. What advice would you give to young people or aspiring public servants who want to make a difference in their communities?
I would say get involved now. Don't wait. You have a lot of folks, especially younger people, who feel that there's no space for them, that nobody cares, nobody, they don't belong. I would say, and I'm telling you this not from what I heard, but what I know, we're looking for young people to get involved. We're looking for young people to be engaged. We'll have community meetings about very important topics, very important things about initiative projects that are happening in the city, and we'll host a community meeting. So true engagement, right? So when people say, "No, you're not engaged in the community," no, we'll have 100 or so folks in the room. We'll have the same people who show up at each meeting. The same ones, and I'm not hating on them at all, because if they don't show up, then no, we don't get any input. But when that young person shows up in the room, now it's like, oh my goodness, now we have a new perspective. People will flock to them. They flock to them. So I would tell young people, if you're looking for a career in public service, or just wanting to be in this space, don't wait. Do it. Reach out to your local elected official. And when you say, well, I don't know where, go online. It's not hard to find. All you have to do is, so if you wanted to find me, go online and type in who is on the Detroit City Council. Just ask that question. The link with City Council will pop up with our information on how to reach out to us, get our phone numbers, our emails. So all of that stuff just pops up. Now, it's not going to be in, telling you this. You got to just look at the website. You're going to have to scroll it up and down, but it's right there in plain view. Don't make it harder than it is. Make it plain. Make it plain.
Sound like a plan to me. Yes, all right. And how do you stay grounded and motivated, especially when dealing with the complexities of public service and governance?
Staying grounded and motivated, those meetings help keep me grounded, that I host, because people will tell you, that when you think you all that, you're not. So that keeps you grounded in that perspective. But what keeps me motivated is when I'm able to see, as I said before, see some change. When I'm able to see things go from a negative situation to a flat out, undisputable good thing for a community. I like that. That's motivating. It says, you know what, let's do that again. Let's do it again. Let's do it in a different way. When you're able to have.
Uh-oh.
Can you see me?
Yeah, you went out for a second. Welcome back.
Okay. when just like the Protect Your Crown campaign, when you're able to pull something outside of you, because there's a personal reason that it's a big deal to me. I have been on that spectrum, that struggle at times with maintaining my mental health in the way that I need it to be. So I'm able to pull that out and talk about it now more, and now to come up with a program or a campaign with a survey that has never been done and be able to help folks that may have challenges even more deeper than mine. That is what helps motivate me as well, because I wouldn't be able to do that necessarily in this other position or that position. But I'm here as a city council member, and now I'm able to help my city. That to me is the greatest motivator ever.
For sure. All right, my last question. What is your favorite Detroit meal or snack?
Oh, Detroit style pizza. Without a shadow of a doubt. Detroit style pizza.
From where? From where though?
It's not in Detroit, I must say.
What?
No, I'm a snob. I'm a Detroit style pizza snob. I'll eat it, but I'm gonna tell you the truth about it. So it's one place called Frank's in Wyandotte. It's just never had anything that good. Yep, and there's another one called Capri in Oak Park / Southfield over in that area. Oh, good stuff. Now there's a lot of them that's good in Detroit. Don't get me wrong, but those when we talk, you said favorite.
All right.
Oh my
Frank's
goodness.
Pizzeria on Biddle Avenue.
Yes, ma'am. It's old school too, and look at the numbers. It's affordable.
Now I'm always be budget on 6 Mile, the original triple OG. That's number one. I'm also starting to like Michigan and Trumbull Pizza. I'm starting to like them. They're pretty good.
No, they're good. No, another one? Have you been to Belle Isle Pizza?
I've never been. I live over there, and I've never been there. Well, my sister used to go there all the time when she was in high school. But I heard Belle Isle Pizza do be hitting.
No, it's different now. I will say it appears that it may have been gentrified. But listen. If you want some good Detroit style, that's pretty good too, I will say.
Yeah, I like them. I like I said buddies, Michigan and Trumbull. Oh, the dude that used to be part of Buddies, then they got into it and left.
Yeah, that's in
Hazel Park.
Hazel Park. Yep.
That's the name of them. I gotta Google it. Now you talking about some good pizza?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I'm telling you, Frank's. I ain't playing.
Lou's Pizza.
Lou's is good. Lou's is good.
All right, so my favorite Detroit meal is Detroit style pizza. When I was eating red meat, was that good old Detroit patty melt wrapped in that aluminum foil with some chili cheese fries, squeeze me please, with a nice cold Verner's or Rockin' Wire. And then my favorite snack was the hot corn chips.
Oh yeah, the one with the little man on the front. I forgot.
Yeah, them things is hot, baby.
I should love them.
So this and probably a Rock and Ride or a peach Faygo or a Everfresh papaya juice. Them be hitting too, cause I don't see them nowhere else but home.
But Detroit, I know, right? I remember when Ohana Punch first came out. I used to kill.
Yes. My brother been drinking them the candy apple one they gotten out of Faygo. He said they good. I'm like, that look too sweet, like a Jolly Ranger.
I haven't had that one yet. I don't know if I don't think it needs me. It doesn't.
Yeah, I can't have sugar like that. So no, but my dad lives in Columbus, Georgia. Every time I drive down there, he has me go to Sam's Club and get like 10 of those 24 packs and bring them.
Oh wow.
Oh, he give me the money back for it, and then once he drink them all up, I'd be like, go and rinse them cans out, put them in my bag. And when I come back next summer, I'm gonna bring them back. And so when they came up here for the draft, he brought my cans.
That's what's up.
And went and bought some more. Like I ain't never, ever, I would never be ashamed to go cash some cans. Never.
Listen, I promise you have now said that you like Detroit style pizza. I like Detroit style pizza. Mm-hmm. You've now said that you collect cans, and my staff, they'll tell you, I'll go around saying, don't throw away the can. Listen, and they're like, you want it? I'm collecting all the cans. I got $13 worth of cans that I got from my staff. And how do I know? Because I cashed them. Because I cashed them. All right.
With it.
Councilwoman, I keep telling you.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, you keep saying it. Councilwoman, we matching on a lot of answers here.
We could just be great friends. But no, cause my job sites, my crew, they know just leave the bottles. I rinse them out and I take them to the store. But that's what I buy the ice with, the Gatorade and the water. So it's like I'm recycling. But yeah, I bring all them cans home. I had like 5 garbage bags full of cans when I went down south this summer, and I brought them home. I ain't never ashamed to turn no cans. If I go in these houses and I find boxes of bottles, they go into the back of Big Black.
That's right.
I'm gonna rinse them out with the water hose, and I'm gonna cash them in.
That's right.
I never be ashamed. I'm trying to think of another Detroit snack I like. The little caramel apple suckers.
Oh, those are good. Those are good.
Yeah, I don't see them nowhere else but here, so I don't know if it's just a Detroit thing or Midwest.
Those are good.
You know, when I was eating red meat, had to have me a corned beef. Had to.
Yeah, that Denty Moran is that what it's called? Because I don't eat I don't eat meat anymore either. I told you. See, look at that.
Oh, I eat meat. I just don't eat red meat. I still eat turkey.
Ah, okay, all right.
Because I like me a good old fried. Now, my best fish place is God, what is it called? Mr. Fish up there on Verner and Shane in the hood. Okay. You ain't getting in there between 11 and 3. It be packed. It be packed. You know your food good when it come in a brown paper bag now.
Ooh, and it got a little grease on it. You can see it from the outside.
A little bit.
For sure.
You can tell somebody came in. I'm like, you went to Mr. Fish because I smell it on you.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. Do you got any questions for me before we wrap this up?
What up, though? What up, though?
That's my partner Deshaun with the container home. So I'm gonna connect y'all.
All right. Looking forward to it. Yep. I got one question. I asked this question. It's my weird question. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, you believed in reincarnation.
Okay.
What animal, and you had a chance to come back as the animal of your choice, what animal would that be and why?
A lion.
Okay. A lion or lioness? Because it's different. They do different things. I'm a nerd like that. I love animals.
I'm going to go with a lion.
Okay. All right.
They big, they feared, they strong, they can kill you with their bare hands or teeth, and they very protective.
Okay. Ding, 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 ding. All right.
So what's yours?
I would be a skunk. Skunks don't. Here's the thing: skunks don't stink to other skunks. If I'm a skunk, do I care what other animals think I smell like? Nope.
That's like other musty people who around other musty.
That's fine. No, it's a difference.
They're not musty to each other because they both musty.
They all musty. That's funny. But you tell me this. Tell me who eats skunks. Nobody. Do you ever see people walking around with skunk animals? Like skunk pets? Nope. You don't really see skunk fur outfits? Nope.
I don't think I'd wear that anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'll be a skunk. To me, remember I told you? Survival.
True.
Rule number 1. Survival.
I don't know. I'm about to Google, do they have a predator? Probably not.
So I will tell you, there is one, and it's an owl. Because an owl has no scent glands. They can't smell. They have no sense of smell. Yep. So it catches them from above. And we got the bright stripe on the back, so they stand out. Yeah. I know too much. I know too much about animals. I know.
Well, I'm really anti-animal right now because since July, I've been dealing with the animal kingdom in my backyard. First, it was groundhogs. Got rid of them. One was back there dead for a while in the cage, and I didn't know. We talking like 2 weeks, so that brought possums. So now I'm on the 6th possum I'm trying to catch. So we always name animals in my family because we have farms. So I named the groundhogs. That was Sylvester. And then the possums, I've been naming them Frederick and Frederica. So now on the camera, they're getting bigger because I be seeing them in the backyard. So I think we're almost done. I'm hoping. But when you have people on the street who don't take care of their yard, that brings them, that brings stuff too. I've also seen bunny rabbits in the backyard. Squirrels always be back there. These Detroit squirrels or something else. They don't eat fruits and berries. They eat whatever in your trash can. Yeah. I had one squirrel. He left some pizza in the back door and came back and got it. I'm like, you little. Like, they gotta have heart disease or something.
That's funny.
They don't eat like what they supposed to eat. They eat regular food. They put holes in our garbage cans
all the time.
And I don't know if Chicago got black squirrels, but when my family and my friends would come to Detroit, that would blow their mind that we got black squirrels. But to me, it's a squirrel.
Well, back in my day, the black squirrels were only on the east side.
Somebody else told me that.
Yeah, black squirrels are only on the east side, and now they've migrated all the way to the west, and they're everywhere. They're like the predominant squirrel, it seems like, in the city now.
Yeah, they the man. I seen one that was black with a like a blindish brown tail. I was like, you are so cute, but stay over there. Because you come over here, this air gun gonna pop you.
Right. That's funny.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again, Mr. Councilman Tate, for coming on here. This was so cool. We definitely got to do this again. I feel so honored for y'all coming on here. I appreciate you for everything you do in the city. I'm glad I met you at that Brightmore meeting. I wasn't one of the disgruntled people in the audience. I was there to learn, and I did learn a lot, and I got to meet you, and here we are. So
And here
hopefully,
we
Real Estate Fridays next week, I would love for you to come. I'll email you some information on it too.
Send me the info, and thank you for having me. You know, there's some time where you meet people, and it's kind of like you just pass by and you just met them. I'm glad we actually had a connection, and here we are. And this is our time to build.
For
no
sure.
pun intended.
We're gonna get it together. I'm gonna email you and copy and put the shine on there so we can come up with a day to meet after 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's funny. Done.
So we like it could be your office, mine, wherever. Or you know what? We can meet at the Container Home Center.
That works.
If you never seen it, we can meet there.
That works. I'm in.
All right, cool. All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all for tuning in to What Up Though Friday with Mr. Councilman Tate. Thank y'all for tuning in, asking y'all questions, and see y'all in next week for Real Estate Fridays, and then next month I'll have Reggie on here. We'll be going over the tax auction. I always had him come back on to see how people bid it and stuff like that. So thank y'all. Have a good weekend, Detroit. Stay safe. Deuces. And stream.